it is clear that Yella Beezy is struggling in jail. It has only been a few days since he was taken into custody at Dallas County Jail, where he faces serious charges related to allegedly ordering the hit on rapper Mo3. Rumors have been circulating that Beezy is not handling jail life well. Reports indicate that he is already pushing hard for bail, as though his life depends on it. To understand why, you need to know about the reputation of Dallas County Jail. It's known as the toughest and roughest in Texas, and it's the last place someone would want to end up. The conditions inside are harsh. Overcrowding is a huge issue, with cells meant for 8 people holding up to 40. It's more than uncomfortable, it's a crisis, and officials are struggling to fix it. Security is prioritized over comfort, and the air inside the jail is so cold that it feels like the AC is cranked up just to see who can survive. The noise is deafening, and inmates often stuff toilet paper in their ears to block it out. Privacy is almost non-existent. Special response teams, SRTs, run the facility with strict, almost military-style inspections, humiliating prisoners as they go through their belongings. The main goal seems to be control, with little regard for dignity. For the past 5 years, Dallas County Jail has been criticized for failing state inspections. The Texas Commission on Jail Standards has flagged major issues, but little has been done to address them. For instance, in February 2022, inspectors found disturbing problems, including the way suicidal inmates were being handled. Logs showed that officers were not properly monitoring inmates, which posed a serious risk to their safety. About 40 housing unit doors were broken, and some had been for a while. Inmates even used contraband to jam doors, making them useless and creating a security threat that had been ignored for far too long. Hygiene standards are also a big issue. Many inmates do not clean themselves or their spaces regularly, and the overall conditions are filthy. Inmates in the West Tower had to step in when laundry workers failed to do their jobs. In another example, the South Tower's generators, which are supposed to be tested regularly, had not been checked for months. If the power goes out, there's no guarantee the backup system will work. This lack of preparation could lead to disaster. Meanwhile, word on the street is that Yella Beezy is too broke to pay for bail. When his bond was initially set at $2 million, it showed just how serious the charges were. In court, Beezy's grandmother, Alma Jean Alexander, testified that he was not as wealthy as the prosecution claimed. She pointed out that if he could afford the bond, he would be out of jail by now. Her testimony, along with statements from other family members, led the judge to lower Beezy's bond to $750,000, but only with strict conditions. Beezy is now banned from contacting victims or witnesses and must adhere to financial disclosure requirements. Prosecutors have painted Beezy as someone with the wealth and resources to escape if necessary. They pointed to his expensive bulletproof car and the nearly $870,000 in his bank accounts as evidence of his financial power. These assets made them believe he had the means to fund the crime and flee if needed. The charges against Beezy are serious, capital murder. If convicted, he could face life in prison without parole or even the death penalty. In Texas, capital murder involves killing a police officer, firefighter, or child under 10, or committing a murder for hire during another felony like kidnapping or robbery. In Beezy's case, prosecutors argue that he paid for a hit on rapper Mo3, which qualifies as a murder for hire. This is a dire situation for Beezy, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Lil Durk, whose real name is Devontae Banks, found himself in deep trouble after being arrested in South Florida. The U.S. Marshals confirmed his arrest, which is linked to a federal criminal complaint filed in California. Durk is accused of being behind a murder-for-hire plot, and the story goes way back to a bitter feud with an individual named TB. Things got even more complicated after the tragic murder of Durk's close friend, King Von, Devin Bennett, on November 6, 2020. King Von was a key part of Durk's, only the family, collective, and was tragically killed by someone associated with TB. This sparked a chain of violent events, and word on the street is that Durk put a bounty on TB's head, driven by a need for revenge. By August 19, 2022, things escalated when members of Durk's crew allegedly followed through on those orders. They tracked TB to a gas station in Los Angeles and opened fire on his vehicle, firing at least 18 rounds. Tragically, a family member of TB was caught in the crossfire and fatally shot in broad daylight, right in the middle of a busy intersection. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada did not hold back, calling the shooting a cold-blooded murder with no regard for innocent lives. Now, Durk and 5 others face serious charges: murder, murder for hire, and conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death. The situation gets even more intense as prosecutors claim that the hitmen were paid with money linked to Durk and his crew. 5 individuals were allegedly flown from Chicago to Los Angeles a day before the shooting, ready to carry out the hit. To avoid leaving any trace, Durk allegedly arranged for the hitmen's flights without using any names connected to him. But when the authorities started investigating, they uncovered details that painted a clearer picture of the operation. Durk's first court appearance took place at the U.S. courthouse in Miami, where his lawyer, Alec Ubiata, kept quiet about the case. As the legal proceedings continue, Durk's career is now clouded by this dark chapter, and if convicted, he faces the possibility of life in prison. Meanwhile, in Dallas, a case tied to the murder of rapper Mo3, Melvin Noble, has taken a surprising turn. Mo3 was shot and killed on November 11, 2020, on a busy Dallas highway. Mo3 was a rising star in the rap scene, and his death sent shockwaves through the community. On that fateful morning, Mo3 noticed a car tailing him as he drove along Interstate 35. Fearing for his safety, he tried to escape, ditching his car and running down the highway. But the suspect, identified as Coindantrell White, chased him down and shot him multiple times, killing him in broad daylight. The attack also injured another man, and the whole scene left witnesses in shock. The Dallas Police Department quickly launched an investigation and released images of the suspect, who was wearing a ski mask at the time of the shooting. These images led them to Coindantrell White, a 22-year-old with a criminal record. White was already out on bond for a felony gun charge and a misdemeanor charge of evading arrest. As evidence mounted, it became clear that White was the one who killed Mo3. White had been following Mo3, and when the rapper tried to escape, White did not stop. He chased Mo3 and shot him down, which led to Mo3's death. After the shooting, the police brought White into custody, and he faced charges of murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. White's arrest was a significant development in the case, but there was more to uncover. Federal officers also arrested another individual, Devin Maurice Brown, who was connected to White. Brown faced charges related to drug and firearm offenses, and when police searched his home, they found a stolen assault rifle and other illegal items. The connection between White and Brown added another layer to the investigation. It turned out that the motive for the murder might have been related to a woman in Mo3's life. Brown reportedly grew jealous when he saw Mo3 drop a video with her on Facebook. This grudge led to Brown contacting a witness to find out Mo3's whereabouts on the day of the murder. Despite the mounting evidence, White denied having any involvement with Brown, even claiming he could not remember Brown's phone number when questioned. Fast forward to 2025, and more details have come to light, suggesting that Yella Beezy, also known as B, might have been behind the plot to kill Mo3. According to court documents, it appears that Yella Beezy hired White to carry out the hit on Mo3. The exact motive remains unclear, but as the investigation continues to unfold, the tragic story of Mo3's death grows more complicated. The murder of rapper Mo3 in broad daylight on November 11, 2020, took a strange turn just days after the tragic event. Authorities discovered something unusual. Yella Beezy, also known as B, withdrew an astonishing $40,000 from his personal bank account just 2 days after the shooting on November 13th. This raised many questions for investigators. Why did he need such a large sum so soon after Mo3's death? What was B planning to do with it? The mystery deepened when witnesses came forward saying they saw B acting nervously in the days before the bank withdrawal. Surveillance footage from the bank also raised concerns. In the footage, B could be seen entering the building, constantly glancing around, as if he was being watched. Investigators are now going through every detail of this footage, hoping to find clues that will explain his actions. A key witness also came forward, claiming to have overheard B talking about payments for Mo3's murder. Prosecutors are now building their case, suggesting that B had both the motive and the means to orchestrate such a brutal crime. B's financial resources, including a bulletproof vehicle and a healthy bank account, have made investigators believe he might be a flight risk. The case has taken another chilling turn with a shocking video that shows Quandantrell White, the alleged hitman, chasing Mo3 down Interstate 35 and killing him with ruthless precision. 44 bullet casings were found at the scene, highlighting the extreme violence of the attack. If B indeed planned this hit, it raises the question of why he would risk everything, especially when he and Mo3 had a well-documented history of tension. The story behind the rivalry between Yella Beezy, and Mo3 is a tangled one. Both artists came up in the Dallas rap scene, and as their careers grew, so did the competition and tension between them. What started as a shared ambition to succeed in hip-hop eventually became a battle for dominance. Their rivalry was not just professional but personal, with both throwing jabs at each other through their music and social media. Fans have speculated that Mo3's outspoken nature may have played a role in escalating the feud, though the exact reason behind the tragic outcome remains unclear. Things took a more violent turn in 2018 after the death of Roy Pate, Mo3's friend. Roy had publicly criticized Yella Beezy, which many believed led to the shooting of Beezy in retaliation. This incident marked a turning point in the rivalry, pushing it to more dangerous heights. Despite this, both Mo3 and Yella Beezy publicly denied having any serious issues with each other. Mo3 even downplayed the feud in a 2019 interview, claiming there was no real beef. However, there were moments, like the alleged assault on Mo3's manager, Brandon Rainwater, in early 2020, that fueled the rumors of a deeper tension between the two artists. In 2024, Yella Beezy gave a dismissive answer when asked about Mo3's death, saying, "What was the point?" But in another interview, he seemed to acknowledge Mo3's impact, stating that his death was a big hit and had a big impact. These mixed statements only added to the complexity of their relationship. Despite everything, both Mo3 and Beezy tried to downplay the rivalry, with Mo3 insisting in interviews that he was just telling stories and not seeking drama. Yella Beezy, born Marquise DeAndre Conway, has faced a turbulent life both inside and outside the music industry. In 2018, his life took a dramatic turn when he survived a shooting while driving on State Highway 121 in Louisville, Texas. The incident shocked the music community as Beezy, a rising star in the Dallas rap scene, was known for his unique blend of street-inspired lyrics and catchy hooks. But this traumatic event wasn't an isolated one, rather, it was the beginning of a string of unfortunate circumstances that would follow him in the years to come. The shooting in 2018 left Beezy with physical scars, but it also affected him mentally. Being shot 3 times in broad daylight in a public space was a wake-up call, not only for him, but also for those around him. The incident became one of the key moments in his career, changing the way people viewed him and his music. Despite surviving the attack, Beezy seemed to become more cautious and withdrawn, aware of the dangers surrounding him. His response to the incident, however, was surprisingly calm. He appeared unshaken, stating in interviews that surviving a shooting was just part of the life he led. "You got to stay out of the way and get hit up every day," he said, showing a level of nonchalance that many found unsettling. The murder of Mo3 in November 2020 had already raised red flags, and Beezy's withdrawal of $40,000 from his personal bank account just 2 days after the shooting only added fuel to the fire. The timing of the withdrawal seemed too coincidental, and investigators began to suspect that Beezy might have played a role in the murder. His past legal troubles and violent history made him an easy target for speculation. People began to connect the dots, and soon, his every move was being scrutinized. Despite the mounting evidence against him, Beezy's legal team continued to argue that he had nothing to do with Mo3's death. They pointed to the lack of concrete evidence linking him to the murder and insisted that the criminal charges he faced were unrelated to the case at hand. However, as more details about the shooting emerged, including the involvement of alleged hitman Quan Dantrell White, the pressure on Beezy grew. Prosecutors suggested that Beezy had the financial means and resources to orchestrate the murder, including a bulletproof Denali SUV and a healthy bank balance. Adding to the tension was the fact that Beezy had previously been involved in several violent incidents. In 2018, just after the shooting that nearly took his life, he was involved in a drive-by shooting in Louisville, Texas, an incident that many believed was retaliation for the death of Roy Pate, a close friend of MO3. The violence surrounding Beezy's life seemed endless, and it painted a grim picture of the environment in which he was operating. But despite the numerous criminal charges, shootings, and public incidents, Beezy remained active in the music industry. He continued to release new music, tour, and maintain a presence on social media, even as his personal life seemed to spiral out of control. His fans remained loyal, though they, too, began to question the true nature of his character. Was he the victim of a dangerous environment, or was he a man actively involved in the chaos? The situation reached a boiling point when the witness testimony surfaced, claiming that Beezy had discussed payments for MO3's murder. This new revelation turned the investigation into a much more serious matter. Beezy, who had always downplayed the rivalry between him and MO3, now found himself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Prosecutors were now building a case against him, suggesting that he might have been behind the hit. The timing of his actions, his financial resources, and his violent history all pointed to a potential motive, and Beezy's legal team had a difficult task ahead of them to clear his name. By 2023, Beezy's past continued to haunt him. In July of that year, he was named in a lawsuit filed in Harris County, alleging that he and members of his entourage had assaulted 4 men after a concert at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. Beezy's lawyer denied any involvement in the assault, but the fact that he was still tangled in legal matters showed just how far his reputation had fallen. Yella Beezy's struggles, both personal and legal, have shaped the public's perception of him. His criminal past, combined with the suspicions surrounding MO3's murder, has left a dark cloud hanging over his career. While he continues to push forward in the music industry, his past actions and legal troubles make it difficult to separate the artist from the man. His story serves as a reminder of how easily one's life can spiral out of control when surrounded by violence, criminal activity, and the constant pressure of fame. Whether he is guilty of the crimes he's accused of or simply a victim of his circumstances, one thing is clear: the road ahead for Yella Beezy will be anything but easy. Despite his status and resources, Beezy found himself in a vulnerable position, and the strange circumstances surrounding his actions after MO3's death only added to the intrigue. Authorities continue to piece together the events, and whether the rivalry between Beezy and MO3 was based on real animosity or competition, it has now become a tragic tale of how things can spiral out of control.